Hi, this is Rashmi. Today I and my friend Harshitha will be giving a small video presentation on getting started with DynamoDB, wherein you create an account, an AWS account for working with DynamoDB, and then you can create a table and perform CRUD operations on tables and items present on the table. So now let's start. Today's agenda is going to be, we'll give a small introduction to DynamoDB, and then what you should do before you begin. Then create an example table, load the data into that table, perform CRUD operations on the table, and delete the table that you have created. So, introduction to DynamoDB. DynamoDB is a fully managed NoSQL database service that will provide you fast and predictable performance with seamless scalability. A developer can use DynamoDB to create a database table that can store and retrieve any amount of data and serve any level of request traffic. DynamoDB will automatically spread the data and the traffic for the table over a sufficient number of servers to handle the request capacity specified by the customer while maintaining consistent and fast performance. A database admin can create a new DynamoDB database table and then scale up or down the request capacity for the table without downtime or the performance degradation, and then gain visibility into resource utilization and performance metrics through the AWS Management Console. All the data items will be stored on solid-state disks. Data is automatically replicated across multiple availability zones in a region to provide built-in high availability and data durability. DynamoDB will enable the customers to offload the administrative burdens on operating and scaling the distributed databases to AWS, so they don't have to worry about hardware provisioning or setup and configuration or replication or software patching or cluster scaling. Okay, so now step 1. What should you do before you begin? First, you need to have an AWS account in order to work with DynamoDB. So first, let's go and sign up for the service. So this is the homepage of Amazon Web Services. So now let's sign up. So once you press the sign up button, this is the page you can see. Here you give your email address, and I'm a new user, and then you click on sign in using our secure server. Now in this page you give the login credentials. You first give your name and then your email address. You have to type your email address again. So you enter a password. And then you give create account. Now you're supposed to give your contact information in this page. After you give all your contact information, check the box saying to indicate that you have read and agreed to the terms and conditions of AWS, and then click on create account and continue. After you have given your contact information, the next step would be to give your payment and PAN information. Since it's only free for 1 year, after that if you want to use the account for more than 1 year, you're supposed to pay for it. So here you're supposed to give your cardholder's name and your credit or debit card number and the expiration date. Be careful with the expiration date because the highest value present is 2030. After you give your payment information, click on verify card and continue. You will get an automated call verifying your card details, and you'll be charged 2 rupees for the creation of this account. But after some 4 or 5 days, the amount will be refunded. After you're done creating an account, you'll have to download the AWS SDKs. For Java, and if you're using Eclipse, you can go to this site and download SDK. If you're using any other IDEs other than Eclipse, you can go to the other site. So check out the sites for downloading the AWS SDK. The next step is to create an example table. So now you'll have to sign into the AWS Management Console using the credentials. Once you log in, you can see the existing tables in your account. Since I already have 2 tables in my account, you can see those 2. Now, in order to create a new table, you click on the Create Table button and you will get a window wherein you give your table name, the primary key, etc. You give the table name as Product Catalog. You can give the table name as Product Catalog and the primary key as ID, and you can give the hash attribute type as number and then click on Continue. So you'll get an optional Add Indexes column, a page, wherein you can give an optional index type, a global secondary index. If you don't need that, you can just click on Continue. Here, you're supposed to give the provision throughput capacity. So if your item size is less than 1 KB, you can click on 1 KB. If it's more than 1 KB, click on 1 KB or more. And then you have to give your estimation for the reads per second and the writes per second. Now I'll give the reads per second is 5 and the writes per second is also 5. And you can mention your read consistency if you want it to be strongly consistent or eventually consistent. I will give it as a strong consistency. So your throughput capacity provision is going to be 5 and 5, and then click on Continue. So now you can set up the alarms, wherein if your data usage is more than 80% or any amount you specify, then you'll get an alarm, meaning you'll get an email to the email address that you have specified, so that you can minimize your data usage, or you can delete the tables which you don't need. After you specify the percentage after which you want to give an alarm and send the notification to the email address that you specify over here, and then you can click on Continue. After you finish that, you will get a summary page showing the primary key type, your table name, your hash key attribute, your provision, throughput, etc. Then you can click on Create. So you can see your screen wherein the product catalog table is being created and the status is creating. After a few minutes, your table is going to be active. After that, you can write programs and perform CRUD operations or any other operation that you want to perform on your table. Now we'll see a small example program to load the data into the table that we have already created. I'll be illustrating using AWS SDK for .NET. In order to load data, we'll first have to launch Microsoft Visual Studio. Let's see how we can create a project, that is an AWS project in Microsoft Visual Studio. After launching it, select the New Project option, and in there, under Visual C# and AWS, select AWS Empty Project. Give some project name and click OK. Here, under program.cs, it by default has some code, and you can replace this code with your code. Here, I have some sample code in order to load the data. The first step is to launch a client, to create a client, which is an Amazon DynamoDB client. And in main method, you are writing a simple method to load the products. So in order to load the data, you have to call the table.loadTable API, and it takes an Amazon DynamoDB client and the table name to which you want to load the data. So the data will be in the form of document. So the new document, you will add some attributes to the table like ID, title, ISBN, authors, etc. And since the primary key is a number, which is ID, you have to give some unique value for this ID. Here, and after you give the values for all the attributes, you just call the putItem API. After you do the putItem, this will load the data into the table. Here we have some 8 records, so we'll add all of these to the table. So let's run this program and check if the data has been loaded into the table. As you can see, the data has been loaded. So let's go to the UI and check if the data has been loaded into the table. So in order to check, it's the same procedure. Go back to Amazon DynamoDB screen and log in with your credentials. After that, you will see that you have two tables in here. So you have added data to product catalog table. So when you click the explore table button, you can see that you have added the records through the program. As you can see from here, it's not necessary that all the records have all the attributes. It's possible to create records with a few attributes, or in the sense any number of attributes. Here some will have 5, some will have all the attributes, so the rest of them will be blank. The only requirement is that the primary key should be unique. So now you have seen that how to load the items into a table. In order to create them, you can select any of the item that you don't want them to be, and you can just delete the item from the table. Just select yes, delete, and it will be deleted. The important thing that you are supposed to know is that while you create a table, you have two types of primary keys, that is hash or hash and range. Hash in the sense you have only one unique primary key through which you can distinguish the different records in your table. In case of hash and range, you can give a secondary attribute which along with the primary attribute can uniquely distinguish a record. And while giving the provision throughput capacity, make sure that you give the correct number of reads per second and writes per second that you have. So now we have seen how to create a table from the UI, how to add items to a table through the program. Now Harshitha will take over in order to explain about the CRUD operations to table and the CRUD operations to items.
Hello, I'm Harshitha. As Rashmi has already told you people as to how to create an AWS account, create an example table, load sample data items into the table, I'll be taking you through the code as to how to perform the CRUD operations both on the table as well as for the data items. So let's start with it. Okay, let's see the CRUD operations first for the table. So here we have a C# code, so let's go through it. Here this is the table name which I'm going to create. So just give your table name, and in the main method I'm calling a create example table method, and I'm listing the table and I'm getting the table information, that is the read operation, and updating the table, and I'm deleting the table that I have created. Right now let's comment this. Later we'll see the deleting part. So in my create example table method, here we have to first create a create table request type, and then we need this to pass it to the create table method. So here we have to first define our attributes, that is nothing but the ID, and I'm giving a reply date time, and the schema element for the attributes, that will be hash and the range. You can give your own schema types, and here I'm giving the read capacity units as 5 and 6 for the provision throughput. As Rashmi has told you, while creating the table we need to provide the read capacity units and the write capacity units. And then here I'm passing the request parameter to the create table API in order to create a table. So I'm waiting until the table is ready, that is we are waiting until the table is in active status. While we create a table, usually the table will be in creating status, so we need to wait until it becomes an active status in order to perform other CRUD operations. We can perform only the CRUD operations on a table which has a active status. So next, going on to the list my tables method. Here just we are listing the tables which were created by me. So just giving a limit of 2. And then I'm passing this request type to the list tables API. Here I get a response.table names will give a list of tables that were created by me. So I'm running the list of tables in a for loop, and I'm just printing the name of the table. This is what I'm just doing in the list my tables method. And in the get table information, here we are using a API called describe table that just takes a request which has a table name. Just pass the request to the describe table API, and then we are just extracting the description of the table, like the table name, item count, read capacity units, write capacity units, etc. So you can get various information from the describe table API. Next, going on to the update example table. Here I am just updating the provision throughput values, that is the read capacity units and write capacity units for my table. I am changing it to 6 and 7 respectively, and then just pass this request to the update table API, and wait till your table is in active status and not in updating status. When you give an update table request, your table will be in updating status. So in order to perform other CRUD operations like deleting the table, you need to wait until the table is in active status and not in updating. And then next, going on to the delete example table method. Here I am just calling a delete table API, which again takes a request of delete table request, and then here it just needs the table name. So it will delete the table with the corresponding table name, whatever you specify. The next method we have is wait until table ready. As I told before, we are calling this method in order to check whether the table status is active or not. So here we are just calling the describe table API to fetch the status of the table. So if the status is not active, since it's a do while loop, the loop will iterate again and the system will sleep for another 5 seconds. And again it will query the status of the table by calling the describe table API again and check for the status of the table. Once the status of the table is active, it comes out of this loop and we return from the method. So this is all we are doing in this code. So once it's done, it says to continue, press enter. So let's see how this code runs. So let's run it. So we are able to see creating table. So this is the output we have got. The table is in creating status when it was creating. So it is waiting for every 5 seconds. Once it became active, then it went on to the listing tables. So the tables right now I have is the example table and the new table which we created now, and I had a product catalog table also. And it's retrieving table information like the name, new table, number of items is 0 since it's a new table and we haven't added any items, and the provision throughput initially which was given as 5 and 6. Now we are updating the table, so it was in updating status, and once it became active, then we got this to continue, press enter statement. So let's press enter and see the table in the AWS console. So here you can see our new table which we created just now. So, and in the update table I had changed the value of the read throughput and write throughput to 6 and 7, which was 5 and 6 before. So note that difference too. So this is the table which we created just now. Since I had commented the delete operation for the table in the code, let's delete this table from the UI and let's run the code once again so that we'll not be able to see this new table in the UI. So let's delete this. Click check this delete this table checkbox and click delete to delete the table. So the status for this new table will be as deleting. So let's wait for some time and the table will get deleted. So okay, here you can see our new table is not being visible here, so it got deleted. So let's run our code again with the delete operation. So this was our code. Here I had commented the delete operation for the table. Let's uncomment it and run again and see. So save your code. Click on the debug. So this is the output we have got from running the code. The output we got from previous code was only till here, that is updating the table. So just notice the deleting table operation, the table is being deleted. So let's see in our UI whether we can see the new table, because since it says it's creating a table, it's been created and it's in active status and all, and it's listing in the new table also in the list of tables. So let's go and check out whether the delete operation is performed successfully or not. So here we are not able to see our new table which was created, and hence it's the delete operation has been performed successfully. So that we have done with the first one, that is the CRUD operations on a table, let's move on to the second CRUD operations that we'll be doing for the items in a table. So this is the C# code that we'll be using to perform the CRUD operations on the items. So we'll be using the product catalog table. So right now it doesn't have any item, so we'll be adding an item. So let's cross check in the UI. So here is our product catalog table. Let's explore the table to check whether it has any items or not. So you can see here it says no items returned and hence has no items. So let's run our C# code and create an item here and perform the CRUD operations on the same item. So in my main method I just have a create item function and then retrieve item function and then the update operations and then a delete operation for the item. So let's comment the delete operation right now for an item and let's cross check it again later. So let's go to the create item method. In my create item method, first we need to create a request of type put item request. Here we are just specifying the attributes for that particular item with the corresponding values for the attributes. So I've given random attributes, say as ID, title and the corresponding values for the attributes, and then just I'm passing the request type to the put item API which creates an item with these attributes and the corresponding values. The next method is retrieve item. Here it just takes a table name and the ID with the corresponding value for which it should retrieve, and the projection expression is just the attributes that we need to see when we retrieve the item. So I'm just retrieving the ID, ISBN, title and author attributes among the rest. We have many other attributes but I'm retrieving only these attributes, and then I'm passing that request in the get item API which will return the item with the corresponding attributes, and I'm printing the attributes by passing the attribute list. The next method is the update operation. Here this is the method which will perform update operation on multiple attributes. Say I have an author's attribute and a new attribute which I'll be adding, and I'll be removing the ISBN attribute from the items. So here I'm adding two new authors, author YY and author ZZ for the author's attribute, and a new attribute with a new value, and I'll be removing the ISBN. So this is the update expression. I'm adding A, that is the authors, and I'm setting a new attribute and I'm removing the ISBN attribute. So pass this request to the update item API and your item will be updated, and I'm printing the same after updating the item. If you let's go for the next method, update existing attribute conditionally. Like you can update an item with having some conditions. Say you have a condition which must be satisfied to update that corresponding item. So first we need to create an update item request type, and then in the previous case we gave ID, the same ID we are using, and I'm having a price attribute here. What I want is I need to update my price attribute value if only the current price is 20. So if only the current price is 20, the new price value will be updated to 22. So give it in the expression attribute values, and then update expression set p equal to new price, and give a condition expression saying that if p is equal to current price, that is 20. If and only if the current price is 20, the price attribute will be updated with a new value, that is the new price 22. So just pass that request to the update item API, and then I'm printing the item after it is being updated. Next is the delete item. It just takes the ID of the item that needs to be deleted, and I'm just passing this request delete item request type to the delete item API. So the next item is print item. Here I'm just taking a list of attributes and I'm just printing it to the console. So now let's run this code and check whether the item is created and updated. So this is the output we have got from running the code. The item has been created successfully after the create item method is called. So this is reading the item. I had retrieved the 4 attributes, that is the ISBN, ID, authors and title. And this is the output for the update operation that was performed on the item. Note that the authors has just authors 1 and 2. Here I have added 2 new authors, authors YY and authors ZZ. And I've added a new attribute value with the new value, and have removed the ISBN attribute which was present in the previous output and it's missing in the current output because I've removed it. So this is the output of the update attribute, and this is the output of updating an attribute with a condition expression conditionally. So since my current price of the price was 20, the condition is satisfied and my price attribute has been updated to the new value, that is 22. So this is the output I had. So let's see in the UI whether the new item has been added or not. So let's check our product catalog table whether the item is being added or not. So we have our item here which we did it through the code. So let's delete this item manually and run our code once again with the delete operation enabled. So let's delete the item. Yes, delete. Let's uncomment the delete operation for the item. Save your code and let's run it again. So this is the output we have got from running the code. So it's just displaying the item before deleting it. So it says printing item that was just deleted. So it has deleted the item. Let's check in our UI if we have the item in the product catalog or not. So let's explore our product catalog table. It says no items returned. So the item was created and hence it was deleted. So the delete operation works fine. So people, this is what we had in stock for you in this session. If you need more information about DynamoDB, you can go to this URL and explore yourself much on DynamoDB. So explore and have fun.